You feel this nervousness on the phone there?
Sir, I've been trying to make an urgent phone call up there.
Well, I don't think it's something I want to do on an overseas phone.
You gotta make some phone calls. Hang up the phone. Prank caller.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to Packernet After Dark. This is the call-in show, the Packernet Podcast Network. If you'd like to call in, if you'd like to participate in the show, please feel free to do so. The phone number here is 608-501-0718. New callers go directly to the front of the line. All right. I'm kind of torn on what to do. I'm thinking that I might try to use part of tomorrow's episode on calls, and so I don't know if I want to start at the end, but in case I don't, because I change my mind every second, I am going to start at the end, meaning the most recent calls, just so that we're kind of up to date a little bit. So, with that said, let's go ahead and get started with Nate.
Hey, Ryan, it's Nate calling in. I just had to offer a historical correction on something you had brought up in the most recent podcast when you were talking about Maoist China and whatnot.
I knew.
Obviously, like, their policies were...
knew. Not only did I know somebody was going to correct me, I knew Nate was going to call in about that. Go ahead.
A big factor of that, but definitely need to add in the fact that, which actually kind of just proves the same point you were making in a different way about how bad the decision making was under Mao's rule, was their killing of the sparrows. Where they were
sure, yeah,
with, like, getting rid of sparrows. Where they hated them. They thought they were like a nuisance bird, and then killing all the sparrows then led the grasshopper population, or not grasshoppers, the bigger ones. I can't think of what
locusts
they are right now. But they had a huge rise in population, and then they also started eating the crops that they were continuously putting out. So then after they sold all those crops and after they distributed everything, the next harvest was also even worse. And then you add on to that, they also had like some issues with some drought and whatnot. But that's why the numbers were so big. It wasn't just that they fucked up the collection system. It was also that they hated sparrows. So the grasshoppers came in, or locusts. That was it.
There it is.
Was locusts. I thought of the word. Anyway, go Pack, go.
So you must have called in before it finished, because at the very end I had mentioned, as I was like digging through, it was because I was making the song. And then the AI was like, oh, yeah, you mean like the locust thing? I'm like, yeah, bro, for sure, locust thing. Also in that song, that's where I learned about the, what was the thing called? The cobras? I don't really know the historical context, because the AI was just kind of like, yeah, it's called the cobra effect. I didn't really look into it. But it sounds like, based on some context clues, it would be the British when they ruled India. Some people have no idea what the heck we're talking about. That they decided to get rid of cobras, and then I guess people in India were like, well, we don't want you to do that, so we're gonna start raising cobras. And so then they started raising them, I guess, in their basements. Don't take this as historical fact. Again, a lot of this is context clues. I'm kind of just filling in a lot of blanks. But the population essentially exploded as a result of that. But all we're talking about is unintended consequences, right? It's usually all these things sound really good on the surface, but you sometimes don't know what you don't know. You don't know what happens when we do X, Y, and Z. The context behind that in regard to football is a lot of times we say very simple things that seem pretty straightforward and obvious, and we're kind of missing the part where there's a chain reaction that will take place. That when you do that, then this other thing will change, which will cause this, and then everything's kind of screwed. And we don't really realize that, because how could we really? I mean, maybe we could know, but maybe we wouldn't. It's hard to know all these things. It's a complicated life in general. And any one given thing is complicated, and football is no different. anytime we try to push here, it's gonna, again, it's like squeezing those little hand squeezy things. It's like, I want you to be smaller. And so you squeeze it, and what happens? A giant bulbous thing pops out where you're, the little circle-y part with your thumb and your finger there. Whatever that is. And then if you try to push that in, it pops out somewhere else. But you didn't think of that at the time. It was just like, I just want to make you smaller. Nobody actually thinks that. I'm just saying that if you decided to say that that's what would happen and you would be disappointed. Anyways, Garrett, what do you got going on?
Hello, darkness.
My old friend.
Ryan, I listened to your podcast that proceeded right after the game. And for us OGs, they go back to, like you said, the 2017, 2018. That is vintage Ryan 101. As much as I really had hoped we would never have to hear vintage Ryan,
right?
It's still, it's still entertaining, as much as I wish we weren't having to discuss another horrible loss. I do appreciate how much you have reminded us over and over again that don't judge the play calling, don't criticize the play calling. And it's allowed me to have a perspective on even these last few games and looking at things logically. And I have to say, beginning of the season, we had heard people say it, and I had been saying it. It felt like last year's playoffs that LaFleur's play calling had become a little bit predictable, or this offense had become a little predictable. And even though guys are getting open, it seems like defenses still are managing to create 3 and outs against this offense and effectively shut them down and get in their heads. I think guys are in their heads big time. It just, the focus, lack of execution, boils down to where I'm getting at with my point. And that is, I think it begins and ends with this O-line, and this O-line is just not cutting it. It's not keeping Love protected in the times he needs it. There's been times this season he has plenty of time to throw the ball. But in crucial times against games, against teams that we need to win, it just hasn't been there sometimes. And I personally think that it's coaching. I think this team is not being prepared during the week. And I really do believe that it's time for a new O-line coach. We need to start with that, and even maybe someone else doing the play calling, because personally I think Dan Campbell's going to just go into his office and tell him, it's like, he's tired of watching this too. It's like, I'm going to take over your play calling, LaFleur. So be it.
Yeah, and just a minor correction. I'm not wanting to tell anybody that you can't or shouldn't ever, under any circumstance, criticize play calling. I mean, that's obviously sometimes that's a problem, and that would be silly to not criticize it. I think, and I just thought about this today, and I saw somebody talking about, oh, you guys always defend Matt LaFleur. You always defend. And I thought, well, yeah, kind of, or make excuses for was the context. And I thought, yeah, I mean, a little bit. But that's because another way to phrase that is to give the benefit of the doubt. And I think that that's the right thing to do when you acknowledge that we don't know the full context. You give the benefit of the doubt. Now, that eventually you start to run out of excuses. Eventually you get to the point where it's like, I've noticed a pattern where I'm defending you a ton. I've noticed that things are continuing to get worse and not get better. You know what I mean? Like, eventually you get to the point where it's like, it's just sort of a tipping point, I guess. And everybody has their own. Everybody's got their own kind of. It's tough to know what the right thing to do is, and everybody's got to sort that out themselves. But I do think that you should start from a standpoint of giving people the benefit of the doubt. I mean, just from a logical standpoint, this isn't a moral thing. This is a logical thing. When you say that you don't know what the heck you're talking about, and you don't, and you should know that, you don't know these things, you don't know, and you don't know what you don't know. And we also know that Matt LaFleur is significantly better at doing all these things, right? At identifying patterns and identifying issues, like, oh, when we pass, we're better, but we're not passing. Again, you think he doesn't know what our run and pass rates are? You think he doesn't understand what the success rates are situationally? He knows those things down to such an unbelievably granular level that it's ridiculous. So again, we're kind of left with, is he just a complete idiot trying to sabotage the team? It's not even like, idiot doesn't even describe it anyway. It has to be just straight sabotage. Is he just a complete idiot? Or is there maybe something I'm not seeing? And it doesn't mean that he's right. But again, that's where, at least for a period of time, I will give you the benefit of the doubt. And I'm not going to just blindly accept he's an idiot. But again, this is where time comes in for me as a variable, right? Okay, it's only been a week, relax. Okay, it's been 2 weeks. That's certainly worse. That's twice as bad as 1 week, right? But, it's not impossible that we turn this thing around. So let's calm down with the hysteria. And ultimately, like I said, we're not going to have a definitive, even by the end of the year, we're not going to have a definitive answer. But at least by then, we're going to have to make an answer, or we're going to have to make an answer. That's not a thing. You know what I mean? And so that'll be a little bit more definitive. But anyways, again, I just wanted to kind of mention that because I saw somebody who's, I don't know if they're a newer account or if they're kind of being blasted right now by some of the big wigs in the media or whatever. So he's kind of going on a tirade. But that was his thing was, you guys are always defending or making excuses for. And I just thought, well, yeah, I kind of am. I try not to a fault. But again, if your first instinct is there's a problem and I'm just going to make something up off the top of my head and then say because you're an idiot, come on, man. That's a little silly, in my opinion.
So real quick, Ryan, I wanted to make another point and see what you think. You have reminded us over and over again, guys are calling for LaFleur to be fired.
Mm-hmm.
So now is the time to just kind of remind guys again, it's like, if you're going to fire him, who are you going to replace him with? And I'd like to see if you could come up with 5 legitimate guys that might be actually a decent replacement or, prove that there really isn't anybody else out there that may be able to step into this position and keep this thing going. Because it truly is a quandary of if we do let him go, who are we going to replace him with? So I've reminded guys all the time, it's like that very thing. It's like, if you're going to fire him, tell me who you're going to replace him with. And now it's like, okay, should we actually start looking at who we can replace him with?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of halfway there as far as the point that you're making. I do think people need to recognize that you can certainly go backwards. Well, number one, it's possible you're wrong about the coach. And if he gets replaced, then you just got rid of somebody that was good. That's number one. Number two, it's also a risky thing where we could bring somebody in that's really bad and we're headed straight to hell. That doesn't necessarily mean you don't do it. If it needs to be done, then you got to do it. As far as, and I don't know that you explicitly said this, but one thing that people say that I really don't like is, don't say somebody should be fired unless you have a replacement. You don't need to know who the replacement is to know that somebody needs to be, well, not know, but to come to the conclusion that somebody needs to be fired. Right? I mean, those are two very different things. I can know my brakes on my car need to be replaced without knowing how to do it. You know what I mean? I don't know how to freaking replace rotors on my car. I don't. I just take it somewhere and they do it. I can know that I need stitches without knowing how to do stitches, But Let me see if I can find it real quick, because that was one of the topics I wanted to touch on and I never did. So I can spend like 30 seconds going through. Where are they? I don't know if I ever saved it. Well, I could just ask AI to help find me some people. And again, you had mentioned like, to prove or not prove. I certainly can't prove it. Let me put it this way. I guarantee you there are people that are out there that could come in here and do a good job as a head coach. It's impossible in my mind that Matt LaFleur is the only guy that can do the job. Whether I'd be able to identify him or not, probably not. But, you could play around with it. It's kind of fun to look at. So, a couple names. One that keeps coming up is Brian Flores. I'm all the way out on Brian Flores. I want nothing to do with that. I understand he's a respected defensive mind. If we're going that route, I'd rather have Jeff Hafley to begin with. But also the whole off-the-field stuff. I mean, not off the field necessarily, but the drama that ensued with him in other places, I don't want anything to do with that. Jeff Hafley obviously makes a lot of sense in that same vein as Jesse Minter, Chargers defensive coordinator, followed Harbaugh from Michigan. Joe Brady is probably a number one. I mean, he's kind of the Ben Johnson right now. Not necessarily in terms of hype, I don't think. Maybe, I don't know. But just in terms of, like, he's the next guy up. He's the one that everybody knows, like, it's his time. He's put in his time, and everything is... The stars have aligned. It's time for the guy to be a head coach somewhere. There's also Todd Monken, same thing, but with the Ravens, offensive coordinator, did some stuff with Lamar, obviously. Baltimore, very good scoring offense. Clint Kubiak is an option. I don't know that I love that, just because, number one, I'm unsure of Seattle. I understand they're doing some impressive stuff, but I don't know that we have the long-term history like Monken and Brady have to know that it's not fluky. Also, the quarterback is playing out of his mind, and you can't really even credit Kubiak for that because that started in Minnesota. And then finally, I mean, Kubiak runs a very similar offense. Maybe that's good, maybe that's bad, I don't know. But it just feels like if we're going Clint Kubiak, then what really are we getting outside of what Matt LaFleur already offers? Maybe he runs a better, more modern version of it. I have no idea. I don't. Some of the more under-the-radar guys. Drew Petzing is the Cardinals' OC. Cardinals aren't massively impressive, but I think most people view him as kind of the very young, up-and-coming offensive mind. And Kyler is kind of... masking how good he is, because Kyler's not very good. There's Mike Kafka, who we're going to get a chance to look at. He's taking over as the Giants' interim head coach, so that'll be worth keeping an eye on. Chris Shula, Rams DC, son of Don Shula, so perhaps he brings a little bit of coaching pedigree as well as being seemingly a very good defensive coordinator. Rams defense is cooking with gas. And then there's Frank Smith, the Dolphins pass game coordinator. Mike McDaniel's right-hand man. I don't know if you really want that because, I mean, I don't even want Mike McDaniel, leaving the personality stuff aside, so I don't know if I'd want his right-hand man. But those are just a few people on the list. Obviously, you could come up with a dozen more pretty easily. The question of could they step in here and provide what we're missing, whether that's culture, whether that's scheme, whether that's whatever, I don't know. I really don't. And that's the other thing you got to worry about. Like, well, this guy's a better offensive mind. What happens to Jordan? I mean, maybe Jordan's just good at football, but maybe he's also just good at running Matt LaFleur's offense that he's been studying in for a very long time. Can you imagine if we have to, like, tweak his footwork and do all this other stuff? Running different offensive scheme. I mean, maybe. Again, it's one of those things. Maybe it's not a big deal. Maybe it's a massive deal, and Jordan is just done at that point. Worth mentioning. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We still got plenty of Garrett.
Hey, Ryan. This is Garrett from Southern Illinois.
Yep.
I just listened to Clayton's phone call. That was the most epic phone call from my brother from Kentucky. It kind of sounded like he was channeling his grandma voice a little bit.
Sure.
On a dial-up phone that's connected to a cord that hangs on a wall.
Yeah.
But it was epic.
That's a funny
and
visual.
I appreciate it. Clayton, you need to call in more with those voices of yours, dude. That was just classic. Classic, dude. We love you. We love you and Tim and all the other guys. We just need to hear more from those guys, actually, Ryan. We need to hear back from them more. I'm out.
Yeah, obviously it's always great to hear from them, but, I mean, if you've seen the amount of content they're putting out, I understand not contributing to another show that is not yours. But yeah, certainly entertaining. And I wasn't sure how much back and forth there was going to be, but I guess everybody got their comments in, and we're just going to leave it at that. We'll go to the scorecard. All right, we're on to this one here. We got 2 more Garretts.
Ryan, I am so glad to see that the word tampon is still in play, dude. It's still in play.
You guys cannot stop.
I think Clayton's been smelling a little bit too much of his mousse that he puts in his faux hawk, man.
Jeez.
Epic.
First phone call is just, we love you, man, and then immediately calls back and just starts cutting.
Hey, Ryan, real quick, I wanted to follow up with the phone call I made yesterday regarding Matt LaFleur and giving you homework to find out legitimate if there are options to replace Matt LaFleur.
All right.
I wanted to articulate that I'm not asking for him to be fired or asking for him to be replaced by somebody. I'm just throwing out, hey, there's so many people that are wanting him fired. I want them to see, hey, these are the only options to really legitimately replace him with that are front runners. And, just to use it as argumentative, reasons to show them, hey, this is it. This is what you're looking at. Because I'm now hearing rumors of college teams that might go after LaFleur with big contracts. I'm hearing, it came out today that Schefter was saying that he has talked to other owners that are rumored to, with expectations that Hafley will be hired as the new Giants head coach because he's a New Jersey native. So there's that. So I really, really, really don't want to see Green Bay lose Hafley. I think the defense has been one of the more consistent things that we've had the whole season. Even with the injuries to LVN and other guys hit and miss, I feel like the defense has held up its end for the most part, with the exception of the Dallas game. I think they have done exceptionally well. So all the inconsistencies have been, in my opinion, on the offensive side. Mind you, it is a great point to make. The injuries have been substantial for the offense, and I can see why they have struggled to be consistent. So there's that.
Yeah, and that is reason to at least stop and evaluate things to say it's let's assume, which is probably a safe assumption, let's assume you will not have Matt LaFleur and Jeff Hafley back. It's just a very simple question of are you 100,000%? Because the last thing in the world you want to do is let Hafley walk out the door, which who knows, maybe he would choose the Giants anyways, but I kind of doubt it. I think you'd want to stay where he is. Let Hafley out the door, and then next year, when things don't go well, say, okay, now we're going to fire Matt LaFleur. That is not the kind of hesitation you want. Not to say that there won't be quality candidates there as well, but if you're going to let Hafley out the building, a guy that, again, I mean, it's not just the fact that the defense is good and that he's smart defensively. I genuinely am impressed. And I don't know that I've ever been super impressed with Matt LaFleur as a... I don't know. I mean, all the other stuff. Not that I know anything, but it's just there's nothing to go on that gives me that impression. For Matt LaFleur, it's always been offensive acumen. That's it. Hafley, from day one, it's been this guy's ability to communicate, his ability to teach. I am beyond impressed with his ability. And so it's kind of I think he is a fantastic coaching candidate from just a coaching, there are some guys that are just like leaders of men type of guys. I think Hafley has that ability as well as being potentially a very good schematic type of a guy. Defensively, obviously, but still. And so really the question for me would be, I think Hafley improves several aspects. I do worry about what happens to our offense if LaFleur were to leave. I mean, we're just thinking out loud here. I mean, again, we might, by the end of this year, we might say that Hafley's a friggin' joke and the defense sucks and the offense is tearing everybody's faces off. We don't know what's going to happen. But just thinking through it, I mean, if Hafley had the ability to take that job, give the DC job to Covington or something, and then go out and find an offensive staff, which, I mean, the other thing is, I think there's been some brain drain because Matt LaFleur was seen as such a brilliant offensive mind. Everybody went and poached a bunch of guys. They didn't have any success anywhere doing anything, but they're still not here helping us anymore. And so you look at the coaching staff that's been assembled defensively. If you can do that offensively, go find some really brilliant up-and-coming offensive minds. I'm not positive I hate it, but at the same time, who knows? Maybe Hafley becomes the head coach. He's not as good as I think as a coach, and the defense falls off because he's not able to dedicate the time, blah, 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 blah. But the point is, you better be real sure before you let him walk out the door that you're willing to let him out the door for Matt LaFleur. Like, this isn't just a 1 year, let's just see how it goes kind of a thing. You are positive that this is the guy for the next several years. And if you're not sure, then I don't know how you can let Jeff Hafley out the door.
Hey, Ryan, it's Nate. I had to call in with a question. I don't know if this will make it on before our next game, but I just kind of want to know if you think that it might be possible that the reason the offense is sputtering out is not just because people are kind of figuring out, the Shanahan, LaFleur kind of offense or anything like that, but specifically the way that our wide receiver group is set up. We're kind of gadgety, like we've got our blockers and we've got our guys who...
San Francisco is pretty gadgety too, and they made it work. I mean, it was all yards after the catch type stuff.
Our deep threats, and we've got guys who are good under the middle. So I'm almost wondering if people are just like defenses are seeing that and they just know which packages are likely to be a run versus the pass. I don't know. It's just a theory. Just wanted to see if you maybe had any thoughts on it. Go back out.
Maybe. I mean, who is our fully well-rounded guy? I mean, I guess it's kind of Dobbs, but I will say, I forgot who posted it. Somebody had posted a video. I think it might have been Dusty or something, but it was Christian Watson running a route, and he got mugged up on by a linebacker who tried to muscle him off his route, and Watson just threw the guy. I mean, it was, and he's over there begging for a flag after the fact when he's over there trying to be Mr. Tough Guy and bump him off his route. Watson runs right through him and shoves him off. I mean, Watson is a big, strong guy. I think I maybe underestimated how strong that guy is, and the impact that brings kind of across the board. I don't know. I mean, I look, we got we have Dobbs, or excuse me, we have Golden and we have Watson now. I would love it if Golden could be the guy, obviously. If we're not going to do that, or if he's maybe just not ready for that yet, can we hand the Watson stuff to Golden? Because I want to see, just out of curiosity, I just want to know what happens if Watson is kind of handed the keys and it's like, let's make him the X receiver. No, he's not an X. He's this, he's that. I just want to see it. Maybe he can't run a perfect route tree and all this kind of stuff, but I think he can do a lot more than go routes. I really do. And I don't know. Again, I just like to see it. Golden, I think, is a better route runner, but again, if you're saying he's not ready, I just think Watson can do a lot, and I would love to see us put him in more situations to be that dude. I don't mean to just keep dismissing Dobbs, but I think we kind of just know what Dobbs is and what he's. If Dobbs is going to be sort of our number one type of receiver, I just feel like we're kind of putting a hard cap on what our team can do. Like, Dobbs is the guy, and Watson's job is to get Dobbs open. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like we have some really talented guys that can kind of blow this thing open. And again, I'm not trying to oversimplify things, but I'm just in broad strokes. If you're asking me how I'd want to order the offense, I understand somebody's got to take that responsibility. And we haven't seen a lot of Golden and Watson on the field at the same time. In fact, was it been one game? It wasn't last week because Golden was out. 2 weeks ago, I'm guessing, would have been the only game. Because before that, did we have? I don't know. Maybe it's been several. I can't remember. But, I mean, I like Dobbs, but I like Dobbs in the way that I like Malik Heath, you know? If you want to say he's a better Malik Heath, that's perfectly fine. But he's a limited guy that can come up clutch in certain situations. Golden and Watson have very few limitations. I don't know if Watson has limitations outside of a couple routes. Golden's only limitation might be his size, but I don't know that I've seen that work against him so far. But who knows? I mean, again, Matt LaFleur has till the end of the year to make this thing work. I think the combination of Watson and Golden, even without Reed and Tucker, which sucks, I think that combination with Dobbs, who is a solid option, I think you can make that into something pretty cool. And let's not forget Musgrave. All right, I understand he has limitations, right? Newborn baby giraffe, right? I get it. But that guy can do stuff that not a lot of tight ends can do. And eventually we're going to get Jaden Reed back. And when you're looking at Reed and Watson and Golden, it would be great if we could figure out how to make the Golden-Watson thing work so that Reed comes in and just elevates it even more. And we've got time to do that. But I don't want to see this. I don't know. We'll see how it pans out. We'll see how it goes. But to your point, I do get what you're saying. And as I've said, I know everybody's frustrated that we're kind of using Golden in a gadgety way. And essentially what I'm saying is, if he is fully capable and you're just choosing to do that, then yes, I agree that's stupid. I'm assuming they're trying to get the ball in his hand because they're struggling to find other ways to do it, probably because of a limitation on Golden in terms of his comprehension of the offense or whatever the case may be. If that's the case, again, make him Watson. Make him run down the field all day long and let Watson kind of do some stuff underneath. Because that guy, oh, my goodness. And if we could just get the frickin' offensive line to block, man. I mean, I don't see a scenario where Watson is ever covered. So it's just a matter of can Jordan stand in the pocket long enough to wait for Watson to come uncovered? Because he's going to be open. Period. End of story. All right. I don't think we took our second break yet, so let's take a break. We'll come back with Ron from Eau Claire.
Hey, Ryan. Aaron from Eau Claire.
Yo.
So we've all been pretty negative on the Packers this week. We've all been pretty negative on LaFleur, on Gutekunst, a little bit at least, and especially the offense. And that's all earned, from the last few games. And let's not forget last last year, there were some stretches that looked kind of ugly like this as well. So it's not just the last two games. It's stretches here and there. However, I will also add one positive thing, optimistic perspective, which is that if the offense can figure it out, more or less, if they can get some things smoothed out on their end, whatever is going wrong, if they can figure out the kicker situation, if they can solve some of these problems that have been ailing them, which I do believe they have the talents to do, I do believe they have the capability of doing, I think that this team shouldn't be afraid of anyone, because they haven't been out of any game this entire year. They haven't gotten blown out by anybody. And I remember back in the days where, like, Aaron Rodgers would dominate bad teams and get blown out by great teams, you know?
Sure.
That was like, in a way, I was more frustrated with that than I am with this. I always thought, man, I just wish this team could hang in there tougher. If the win was going bad enough, they didn't have it in them to compete and to be tough. And this team, I actually would prefer having it like it is now, where they have some really obvious issues, but no game do you feel like they can compete. At least not so far this year. Maybe that's coming. I don't know. But they've just been such a tough team when it comes to keeping every game close. And I really do think if they can figure out their offense, then they should be in good shape. So we'll just have to see if that actually happens. That's my take.
Yeah, I mean, they've never been in a game where you felt like, and I guess this is my perspective on it, but they've never been in a game where you just felt like, man, they're just the outmatched team here. They've been the better team, I think, in probably every game, and have just completely shot themselves in the foot repeatedly to be able to pull off a handful of losses. But I mean, it just comes down to execution, right? Maybe you could say that's all the time, but I mean, there's a very clear and obvious difference between, like, we just don't have the talent to be able to do it. We don't have a good enough quarterback. We don't have a good enough wide receivers, whatever. And just, I don't know, dude. Like, don't do stupid stuff. If you just were baseline competent in ways that you were 30 seconds ago, like on the previous play, maybe inconsistent is what I'm searching for here. I don't know, but I mean, if they could just be more consistent from down to down, they would steamroll everybody. And I think another way that's kind of obvious is the fact that they're losing to teams that are not very good. The fact that they can beat better teams makes it pretty obvious that it's not a skill issue. So, you know, they just gotta figure their crap out, man. 1265, what's up?
Someone's at the front door. Sorry. By the way, that's freaking hilarious. First you have dance party, then you have cricket. Now you have people at the front door all the time. You're something else. It's freaking hilarious. So anyway, there was a really good point brought up in regards to the Packers draft and all the injuries, right? So I have been thinking about this for a while, and you know, we had changed our entire like medical thing, or the trainers and stuff. We changed up all those guys, right? Well, we used to be really, really careful with our players, and they wouldn't play until they were ready to go. And I feel like that has changed in the last year and a half, 2 years. And we're playing more players when they have injury. And I almost wonder if that might be the reason for the woes in our draft picks. I love Goody. I'm a Gootlicker. Got the shirt.
Nice.
But there's no, I mean, obviously, our young players are getting hurt, and they're getting hurt early in their career. And there's got to be something to do with that change, because I don't believe it used to happen. Maybe if you want a project to do, Ryan, you could look it up, because I'm not that person. I'm totally lazy, so I'm just not going to do it. But if anybody has a chance to look that up and see, hey, you know, how did our draft picks fare in previous years when we had the old regime of the training staff? That'd be really interesting to see, because I think we're onto something with that. I think Gutekunst is one of the best GMs in the league. That's my opinion. I mean, if you think he's so bad, if anybody knows of a better one, please, and give examples of their picks, because I'd be interested to find out. Just from watching football all these years, it is the same story year after year after year after year. Oh, who's the good teams? Who's the bad team? Oh, I can't believe we lost to a bad team. Oh, but we beat a good team. And no, they're just NFL teams.
Yeah.
Let it go, everybody. Just let it go. There's something to be said about just watching it and enjoying the game for what it is. I know everybody wants to get their heads in the game, but it's impossible to as a fan, because you don't know everything. We don't know the plays. We don't know any of that. So it's all kind of fodder. I mean, if you enjoy that, that's fine. But when you hear a lot of complaining, it doesn't sound like enjoying it to me.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I'm wrong, and people like to get in their feels, and I think that's what it is. Go Pack, go.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's a tough spot for me to be in, because this is what I do. You know, I mean, I can't have the position of there's no point in talking about it because we just don't know. But again, I've obviously been stressing this a lot, and that is there's nothing wrong with like that. I do think it's fun. I think it's fun to think through these things and to even, you know, speculate. Even though I'm not on the fire LaFleur train, to still have that conversation of like who would be, and kind of, you know, even daydream about it. Don't tell Matt LaFleur, but daydream about it. Like, oh man, that would be kind of crazy to get that guy. Like, that guy's really impressive and he's done some cool stuff. And plus, it's just something to get excited about as a fan. You know, new things get exciting, and just like draft picks, you know, they're probably going to suck, but you still get excited about them, and you're like, oh man, they're going to be the greatest in the world. There's nothing wrong with sitting around speculating, but we do have to have a little bit. I mean, if we're going to take it super seriously, as opposed to just like, I don't know, I'm just kind of spitballing here. If we're going to take it so seriously to the point where we're going to get like venomously angry, then we need to make sure that we're being much more accurate. And that's where it's like, you know, we have to start acknowledging we don't know things and all that kind of stuff. You know, as I've said, there is an element of fan how you want to fan, but there's also still just freaking reality. And like you said, the reality is we really don't know a lot of stuff. We can assume, and sometimes it's easier to assume than others, but I think you know, for example, if things are just catastrophic, or if you're watching a quarterback throw wildly inaccurate passes every single time, yeah, I mean, he's probably just pretty bad at it. But some of the stuff, especially like when it comes to coaching, that's really hard to know. It's just really difficult to know how much is that person behind the scenes' responsibility as opposed to the people who are just not doing their job and not playing good football. And I don't know that we'll ever know, but, you know, again, over time, with enough time, we can at least come to some kind of a conclusion, but still have a little humility in that, like, I don't know, but that's all it is. My personal opinion is, but the problem is you can't, it's so much harder, and you're probably right, where it's people are like addicted to the rage, and it's much more of an emotional thing than an intellectual thing. It's not about like, hey, let's think through this. It's about I'm sad and I'm angry and I just want to lash out at something, and I want you to stop telling me to think through this a little bit more, because then I have to stop and pause and think. And I'm not trying to think, I'm trying to be emotional. And that's where people probably get annoyed with me, because we're just having two very different, even though it sounds like we're having the same conversation, we're not. We're having different conversations. Some people want to like learn things and think through things. And, you know, again, that's perfectly fine if we come to different conclusions. But I do think some people out there genuinely just are not interested. Like, that's never been their goal from the beginning. And it's just talking to a freaking wall, I think, for me to continually try to bring it up and debate the merits of, like, being slow to anger, because that's entirely the opposite of what they're actually trying to do. All right, let's do a couple Green Bay 10s, and then we'll get out of here.
Hey, Ryan. Chris from Tampa, Green Bay 10.
What's up, dude?
I watched the game. We went to the Carolina game. We watched the Philadelphia game together, my son and I. Needless to say, obviously, just extremely disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just really getting to the point, and I love the Green Bay Packers. And I hate to have to say this anytime ever about a Green Bay Packer unit. But I think it's getting to the point where I gotta say it. This offensive line is soft. I mean, it's just, I just finished reading an article, and I know you hate generalities, but it was actually feedback from the Eagles, defensive linemen. And they were basically saying they can impose their will on this offensive line.
Yeah, that's not good.
They lack physicality. And it's obvious every time we've seen it.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know, man. I know you're struggling with your podcast and all the negativity that's out there, and I hate to be adding on to that. It's a good team. This is a good team, good wide receivers. We're being beaten up. I think Musgrave can get the job done. I can't wait for Van Pelt to get back, Van Ness to get back.
Van Halen.
We need him desperately. Defense is doing well. Defense is good. Mike is a beast. I just, we're not going to get very far with this offensive line. And I hate to say it. I don't want to be negative. And I don't know what we do. There's no depth. I mean, part of the article that I read was we're stuck with this offensive line for a while.
Yeah.
But boy, that's not a good picture. Anyway, again, hate to be negative. I love the Pack to death. Love your podcast, so keep going and just keep chin up. I know it's tough when you got to listen to all that negativity, and I know you were frustrated. I listened to your post-game rant,
yep.
And it's the way we all felt. So I know you're frustrated. Hopefully I don't have a lot of analysis to add into this other than a couple of things I've read, and the PFF grades that you've given out make sense. I mean, I totally agree with the PFF grades. I mean, Jordan's running around and he doesn't have any confidence. He's just running around and he has no confidence in the line's going to protect him. And he's just started to get the yips, in my opinion.
Yep.
But anyways, it doesn't help that his receivers drop balls. But if we could improve the
there is a part two, but I think that is another one of the things that Packer fans kind of in unison agree on, and that is that is a major issue for this team is the offensive line. I don't know, I mean, it's easier to look at the wide receivers and say, here's how we could get better, Golden and this and Reed and coming back and all that stuff. The offensive line, I mean, it just kind of is what it is. It's just a matter of can people get better. Now, the positive is, as I said, it seemed like we were trending in the right direction, and last week was a bit of a setback. And even that was really just two guys. I mean, it was Morgan and Banks that just had terrible days. But, I mean, you could certainly look at it and say, well, good day, bad day, whatever. I mean, if Banks can bounce back from that and Morgan can bounce back from that and we get more good days and bad days and hopefully start, not doing that at the exact same time. I mean, if you got one guy kind of having a bit of a down day, it's not great, but you can overcome it, especially against lesser talent. But if you have both guards just playing like their worst game of the year at the exact same time, like, guys, we can't be doing this, man. And then also, obviously, losing your center is problematic because the odds of, things being stabilized. I know people point out, well, Sean Ryan was better. Yeah, but Sean Ryan is, I think, more volatile. Elton Jenkins, never really got back to that top tier level that we saw from him for a very brief period of time. But at least, from game to game, week to week, I think you kind of knew what you got. He was fine. He was never really a massive liability. Sean Ryan has some good games, and he has some, decent weeks. But he also can absolutely be a liability. So that's kind of what has me nervous. But, you just take it week by week. Again, you don't want to overgeneralize stuff, and that is, the offensive line is just bad, even though it has been pretty much all year. But if you look really closely, again, I genuinely think there has been improvement. I'm hopeful that Morgan will continue to improve, especially. I mean, he's a first-round pick that really hasn't had a lot of time to do things, and especially at any one given position. So I'm just very, very hopeful that he can step up, and who knows, by the end of the year, maybe even be a good guard. Who knows, right? Maybe I'm being crazy.
Sorry, Green Bay 10, just trying to call back and finish up what I was saying, but I was pretty much done. To me, it's the offensive line.
Yeah.
We got to do something. I just don't know what the answers are going to be. I mean, we got Ryan at center now, Banks at guard. Can we put somebody else there? We just made a mistake with Banks. It's a huge mistake, but we got to just fight that, admit it, and move on. And I don't know about Morgan, man. It's in the interior of our offensive line. It's
brutal.
Right there. Anyways, go Pack Go. All right, bye.
And these are important reminders. I was thinking about this as I was out raking this afternoon. But, we spend so much time crapping on guys. And every once in a while, as I have today and other days, just want to throw out there, like, before you go firing everybody and cutting everybody, just remember it could certainly be worse. And now we're hearing how much everybody wants Myers back. Bro, it was like 3 straight years of I hate Myers and get rid of Myers and Myers is trash and this guy's a bum and get it. You know what I mean? I mean, just slow down. And, God forbid, maybe even appreciate a little bit some of the mishaps that are not happening. And even if a guy is, like, mediocre, let's just calm down. I was thinking about, the thing I was thinking about was Jair. Man, that guy got so much crap. He's not that good. He's overrated. I mean, these are Packer fans. The guy will give up a couple passes or he gives up a touchdown. It's like, this guy's not a lockdown corner. He's no good. And I understand he's not there now, but even at the time. And I just wonder, is anybody reflecting back on all those hateful, angry comments they had about Jair now as they sit here and talk about Hobbs? Like, do you think peak Jair was really that bad? Do you think so? Even if you don't want to say peak, how about the year after? How about, whatever? Injuries aside, because that's not what people are talking about. I'm talking about people who straight up said he's not that good, he's overrated, he's a subpar corner that gets to... Bull crap, dude. Bull crap. And it's not until moments like this that all of a sudden everybody wants to appreciate people. And it's like, okay, well, it would have been nice if you could have done that while they were here.
From Zuzu. Dad, Brindley needs help on the toilet.
Okay. Well, tell you what, folks. Good Lord. I'm going to go, and it looks like I've skipped the second AA run call. I apologize for that, dude. We'll see if we can get to that on tomorrow's. Jeez. This is going to be a fun song today, I'll tell you that. I got to go. You all have a good night. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Goodbye.
1, 2, 3, 4. Set up my mic, got my notes on Jordan Love. Gonna break down film like I'm ESPN. Got my coffee, have my stats all lined up right. This episode's gonna be a 10 out of 10. Started talking Packers defense, looking mean. Breaking down the secondary, feeling so supreme. 3 minutes in and I'm just hitting my stride. Then my smart home decides to intervene. That little blue light, you know what that means. Alexa just announced it to the world. Bathroom emergency, living uncontrolled. I was breaking down the blitz with tactical finesse. Now my listeners know about my parental distress. Alexa, delete that episode. Jordan Love can wait. I got different problems on this show. Try to talk over it, act like nothing's wrong, but that robotic voice just kept going on and on. Notification, help needed in the bathroom now. Thanks Alexa, really helping out somehow. I was analyzing share, talking covering schemes. Now I'm living every podcaster parents' fever dreams. Alexa, stop! Hit that pause button, save the file and shame. My credibility just went straight down the drain. Alexa just announced it to the world. Bathroom emergency, living uncontrolled. I was breaking down the blitz with tactical finesse. Now my listeners know about my parental distress. Alexa, delete that episode. Micah Parsons can't wait. Got different priorities on this show. Got different priorities. Got different games. Notification, bathroom assistance required. You know what's funny? I spent 20 minutes setting up my audio levels. Check my gain.